Hello YouTube. Hi, my name is Mark. This is Nixon Motorsports. If you're new to this channel, we're all about motorsports, from racing to exotic cars and even simulators. Today's video, relatively short. We're going to talk about Flagtronics. It's an in-car flagging system for race cars. With that, let's get into it. All right, so Flagtronics, what is it? Let me talk about that really quick. So flags in general for racers, we all know about this. Flags are an important tool that track corner workers, race directors use to communicate to the drivers. And as drivers know, different flag colors have different meanings, and it's been an effective way to communicate to drivers actually for several decades. So now with new technology, there are companies that are coming out with wireless devices that you actually install in the race car, and the corner workers, the track personnel running the race, now can actually communicate directly to the driver or drivers in their car real time through a small display itself. Makes sense? So let me show you. Here's an example of one I'm holding in my hand. This is one from Flagtronics that I'll talk about. I have a couple versions of this. I have not put this in the car yet. So let me start with this. My first impression or thinking is that, it would be nice to have actually. Now, flags, again, do their job for the most part. You can occasionally miss a flag as a driver. And that's not a cool thing if that happens. If you're further back in the field, for an example, and the green flag is thrown, if you don't have spotters to communicate to that, you might not see the start as quickly, those kind of examples. With the wireless communication, though, this allows the track to make sure that flagging status is communicated to all the cars. And there's a little bit of two-way as well. These trackers, these receivers, I guess is what you call them, outside of a small display, they actually have GPS, so they have speed and position information and the car identifier information that is broadcast or sent to the race control. So as an example, let's say you're a driver that does not slow per rules appropriately for a local yellow, whatever it may be. Race control would actually see your actual speeds, if you slowed appropriately or not, and what car it is. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of irritating, a little bit of both. Another example, if race control decides to black flag you, a particular race car, they can send, instead of waving a black flag that maybe 2 or 3 cars may pick up in a group and not sure who it belongs to, they can actually direct and send a black flag message to the car intended. So that's actually a pretty cool use case. If there's mechanical things like that, they can communicate that directly to the race car. So that's the basic highlight of this. So for me, I'm not sure if I like this or not yet. I have not installed it in the car. I'll show you Flagtronics. I have 2 of their products here in a minute. I'll show you what they look like, and then some ideas about mounting them. So for me, an open wheel racer, Formula race car, there's not a lot of, let's say, space in cockpit for such a device. I'm more concerned along that line of it. If I look at my steering wheel here off of the race car, my eyes look directly above the top of my dash. You see that small little LED bar up on top. So my line of sight is directly above that. I don't want to have some LED device blaring in my eyes directly on the line of sight. That would be quite irritating. If I look down here, again, this race car is totally apart at the moment. Looking at my dash itself, so from a mounting point of view, and then I have my windshield slightly above, small little plexiglass device, slightly above my steering wheel, I'm not sure where I'll put it. So that's a concern from a mount point of view. So let me show you these two devices from Flagtronics. All right, so let me pan down here on the bench and show you two devices. Again, the company is Flagtronics. They have a product called the FT200 and the FT-RD. And so this is just the manual that comes with it. So let's start with the FT200, which is what you'll see right here. So in the box, you have a manual, you have a GPS receiver itself, you have a small wiring harness, and then you have the display. Now, this display has mounts on it. It's pretty good size. I don't know what the dimensions are. It's in the box here. I'm guessing that's about an inch tall and about 2 inches wide, roughly. This, if it's in a sports car, for an example, or a car that has a lot of in-cabin space, this would work great. You could mount this off line of sight slightly and not be bothered with it too much. It doesn't weigh hardly anything. So it's going to need power. They do have this small battery embedded in the wire harness, so that actually keeps it on for a small period of time after it loses power. But my understanding, again, I have not mounted these yet, once it receives power, it's automatically on. It registers within race control, and they're able to communicate with it right away. These small little buttons, if you can see that here, that's just a brightness control, either brighter or up or down. And then the back of the device, you can see the connectors here for the harness and for the GPS. Quite simple. Now, these can connect with CAN bus. I'll come back and talk about that in just a second. So this is the first one. Now, the next device is the FT-RD, and here's the box, the contents on this device itself. Somewhat similar. Now, you do have a harness, just like you do with the other device. Its primary difference is display, and they made these, if I can get this here, here's the display. The intent for these smaller display devices is things like open wheel race cars, where you have very limited space in the cockpit itself to actually mount such a device. So this is the one that I'll be using in my race car. And like the other device, it has its own GPS receiver, a similar wire harness, though I can see one difference here. This looks like the actual receiver itself for the track control, and then it just communicates directly up to the display itself. So relatively similar. Now, as I mentioned a second ago, both of these support CAN as well. So if you have a car with data acquisition with CAN, and the majority of all the newer systems do, you can connect this directly to CAN, which means you can log flagging information. I would imagine, being that it's CAN-based, you could probably forego using their additional GPS receiver. These little guys, right, you would be able to actually just leverage the GPS lat long information, speed and such from your data acquisition system. I haven't tried that. I'm just assuming that that is the case. So these are the two devices. Now, from a price point of view, the Formula race car version, this one I just bought, it's November 24. I believe it was in the $500 range, so it's up there. They're kind of pricey. I'd have to go back and look at the FT200. I think it's slightly cheaper, but not much. So that's the main difference of these two devices. So let me grab the display of this smaller unit itself. Now, this is the one that I think I'm going to end up using. on the race car. Now, again, from a dash point of view, maybe I'll be able to get it behind the steering wheel slightly, so it's kind of out of the way. It's either that or possibly I'd move it over on the side. I'm not sure where I'll put it, but I'm sure as heck not going to have it straight straight above line of sight. That would drive me crazy. So I'm not sure where I'm going to mount it yet. I'll have to give you an update on this video once I do that. So let me pan over here. Websites really quick. So on my computer, so here's Flagtronics. You know, they talk about how it works. They show some examples, that kind of thing. Pretty straightforward. There's the URL. It's flagtronics.com. Pretty simple. So if you have interest in these, you know, you could just go purchase it from them directly. Now, I was poking around and wondering, well, okay, is that the only thing out there? Are there other options? I bumped into this one. Here's another website. This is called Flagger. Never miss a flag is what it says. And, you know, it looks like they have, based on the graphic here, something kind of sort of similar. They have modules for the corner track workers and electronic flags for the track, that type of thing. If I keep scrolling down here, where was that? I saw this. Right, so on this Flagger itself, so this is their race control app. So this is what, looks like it's a Windows-based application. This is what the track would use itself. And this kind of gives you a pictorial view of how things connect, right? So every station, every corner or every station would have its own receiver transmitter device. Every car then would have its own receiver. That's what that's trying to show. And that's all communicated up to the main module, this race control application itself that the track uses. Now, I believe this is very similar to, if I go back to Flagtronics website, let's see, yeah, so here's their race director application itself. Here's their corner worker receiver transmitters, on and on and on. So you can go through that and look at that yourself. Right, so I'm not an advocate for Flagtronics or Flagger, whatever else may be out there. From a racer's point of view, I'm thinking, all right, well, this is probably kind of cool, I guess, depending on how I can mount it in the race car. We won't have much of a choice, so it appears that, so at least in SCCA, for the Super Tour or the runoffs and the runoffs, these will be required for the United States, so keep that in mind. Around the rest of the world, I'm not sure, but it looks like that more and more tracks and racing series are starting to push, and ultimately I think these are going to be required to race in many cases. So that's my thoughts on that. So again, as I learn more, actually getting this in the car, see how it works on track, I'll give you a report, kind of an update on that. As I pan down to the car, again, you can tell I have a lot of work. This is the winter project here, 2024. If you've seen previous videos, you know, this is the new shop. We've been busy here this summer. All the body work's out for paint right this minute. We're going to the classic Ferrari red, which I have had on pretty much all my cars. I need to do a motor swap here shortly. I have some safety devices I need to put on the car, you know, harness, that kind of stuff, new fire bottle and so on. So I'll bring you along on those as we go. And but that's it for this video, relatively short. I thought the Flagtronics, this new Flagger stuff, would be something worth sharing to everybody. For anyone who's used it on track, if you have any comments, send those over, please. I think others may have interest in that. How it works, you know, how you mounted it, you know, tips maybe, suggestions, that kind of thing. I would appreciate that. But that's it for now. Until next time, okay? Ciao.